Hello, folks. It's been far too long since you've heard this mic with my voice behind it, and it's been much, much longer since I've been casting. A series of quite unfortunate events have kept me from being behind this mic and talking about video games. And you know, that's a really sad, unfortunate thing, but I am happy to be back. I'm happy you guys are all here giving me a listen. And let's get right into it, shall we? This one, a new step in a new direction for Challenger casts, is not going to be drawn from the European West or the North American servers. In fact, it's drawn from the Korean servers, and it's going to be featuring SKTT1 Faker of World's Fame in the mid lane, playing some mid lane Azir. One of the reasons why I grabbed this one is because, one, of that Azir play, specifically because it is Faker, and everybody loves to watch Faker play this game. He's quite good at it. But it's also alongside a Nunu, which is a really fun combination to watch, and I think has a ton of potential. Azir is one of my favorite champs in the current meta. He's really, really unique and interesting. And alongside Nunu is, I think, one of the best ways to see him played in the current meta, because he can just become so intensely strong with that extra attack speed buff that his late game becomes overpowering. And with the ability to send him rushing towards people with a Sivir and the engagement potential of a Scion, the team comp that Red Team has put together here, I am very, very excited to see. Speaking of team comps, Blue Team might be a bit lackluster in that direction, or perhaps pulling out something that I haven't seen before with Urgot AD carry. Now, to be fair, we have seen more Urgot play recently. And by more Urgot play, I mean Urgot play. That's... Oh, whoa, Scion going low. Oh, of course Scion's going low. He's doing the level 1 Scion strat of killing yourself to get an advantage. It sounds silly when you say it that way, but it is fairly clever. If you start out at a jungle camp, take advantage of the fact that Scion's passive still does grant him the golden XP when he kills something, of course. He can just pop right into his passive, do huge amounts of damage, and have ridiculous lifesteal, and take down that camp. And if he's bringing teleport, which of course this Scion is, he's going to be able to get right back in the lane anyways, have that level 2 advantage from having completed a jungle camp, because they do give the level 2 very, very early on, and sneak right on back into that lane, and at least equalize things, because against a Gnar, he was going to get pushed in during the level 1. And now, perhaps not so much, so useful little trick there. One that's been around for a little while yet, but perhaps a few people still didn't know about it. Thresh getting hooked in, throws back a flay of his own, and a small little trade in the bottom lane does lead to some pressure going towards a blue team. They're getting pushed under their tower, which is kind of to be expected from an early Sivir. Red buff has landed on the Scion. He's flashed away already. Might be in a lot of trouble. The pounce reset does come out. Lots of damage from this Nidalee. The spear doesn't connect, though. And with a slow from that shout, the Nidalee is going to be forced to leave on out of that lane. Top Notch manages to block the hook. Beautifully done by this Sivir. That is a huge trade win for them. Urgot Nautilus going really, really low, and you will hear me referring to a lot of champions by their name rather than the player's name this particular game. One of the reasons why I did stick to North America and EU West is because I can say those names. And it just sounds a lot more professional in a cast to actually say the player's name rather than the champion which they are on. But while some Korean players do choose to use English titles for their names, some of them use Korean characters. This makes perfect sense. I have nothing against that. It's just I don't speak Korean. Going in on Faker here. There is the hook from the Thresh. Oh my god, Xerath has next to no health left. Faker flashing over the wall as well. Nobody's gone down. Eve might be in some trouble. A spear from the soldier does catch him for a little bit there. There's the flay backwards, leaping towards Faker, trying to salvage something, but first blood goes over to the roaming support play from Thresh. Well done in the bottom lane. Well, really in the mid lane, but well done by a bottom laner. As Support continues to have a little bit of trouble up in the top lane against this Scion, holding even in farm, so the trouble isn't actually really manifesting into anything. So perhaps not so much as I thought, or as much as one might think looking at the position of the lane, but he is getting pushed under the tower, which means he's not bullying the Scion, which perhaps was his plan going as a Gnar. one of the few champions that can do that earlier on in the game, but even this Gnar pick is having issues, and really, I can't blame him. Sapart is up against one of the most ridiculously tanky laners in the game, and he is showing it in full force here. There's the slow. The chop from the axe takes away a good chunk of health. Eternal Promise trying to ambush out of the bush, but really, Nunu not the best at suddenly leaping into your face and CCing you to death. He can slow you a little bit, but after that, he's just going to hit you a few times with auto attacks that feel more like wet noodles than anything. Not really a dueling jungle, more of a objective control one, which he's been doing. He's got the early dragon. He's got some good farm going on in the jungle as well. And whoa, we might have a gank down here. The wall does block the hook from lolling, and the hook is blocked again by the minion from Thresh. And with neither hook connecting, both sides choose to disengage. So yeah, we hop to a bit of a quieter moment here. Despite the fact that we only have one kill on the board, it has been a pretty action-packed game. As that is one of the hallmarks of higher level gameplay. Just because there aren't any deaths doesn't mean there aren't any plays being made. The hook onto the Urgot, he is forced to flash away. Lolling might be in a lot of trouble here. Eternal Promise is coming in as well and doing his best just to be a nuisance and add some extra potential to this gank. Top Notch gets the kill. Spear flies in from the side, but Eve is way too late to make any sort of reparations. And that is going to be another kill going over to Red Team. 2 for them at 7 minutes. Doing pretty well. A bit of a slow and steady pace for this one. But slow and steady can win the race, and perhaps even win the League of Legends match. And I would like to get into this Urgot pick. As I've said, we've seen some Urgot recently. One of the most vocal proponents of it being Keen, but we've seen other people pick it up as well. Bjergsen's Urgot has been particularly terrifying in the semifinals in the North American LCS this season. Very, very solid plays there, and he's really showing his potential as a 1v1 laner. The problem is, you'll pardon me there for a second, the problem is, Urgot right now, in this particular match, not in a 1v1 lane, and that's actually a pretty big problem for him, because when he does go into the hyperkinetic position reverser, one of my favorite ults in the game just because of how long it takes to say, it's really fun to cast for that one. But when he does choose to go into that ability, he has to channel for a few seconds. And he's basically trading... Whoa, I'll get back to that in just a moment. Nautilus is caught way out of position. Very nice hook lantern combo there. He's forced to pull himself away to a wall, and he loses half his health for it. So that's going to be a lot of pressure, again, gained on the bottom side of the map for Red Team. They have really, really been punishing this Urgot pick. Emperor's Divide knocking away the Xerath. Faker following through his own shield minions is going to keep on going with the chase. Nice dodge, back and forth, only gets hit by one of them, and Xerath, so very low, goes down in the end to a final spear stab from one of the many sand soldiers that Faker summoned during the fight. Pardon me, still got a few remnants of that cough. What was that? That was a flash from Scion, finger fumble on the keyboard, most likely. Happens to the best of us. Even those of us in Challenger League Korean gameplay. Oh, Hyper is pops apart. Maybe going for the tower dive here. The slow lands, the boomerang connects, turning around with the ult. Rather than choosing to flee, he was holding that in his pocket the whole time. Scion might have been able to escape there, but a little bit of overconfidence, perhaps. And also the lack of a flash from having fat-fingered it earlier, but regrettable as that is, it does happen sometimes. Trying to avoid coughing into the microphone here. Might just edit those out at the end, but if not, I do apologize for the occasional cough. This cold has stuck around 10 times longer than I was hoping it would. I was rather hoping it wouldn't happen at all, but it did. The seasonal changing of the season's cold that happens every single year to me. We go from winter to spring, and my voice goes from its clarion tones to hacking, coughing, and nasally. But what can you do about it? That's just the changing of the seasons. That's just how it works. Nunu up in the top lane, looking for a gank, but Gnar had already hopped away. And top lane is going well now for Gnar. That kill is going to swing a lot in his favor, and it's it's all going to depend on what he buys right here. Going with the Giant Spell, so going with the defensive option, I think that's a good choice. Probably. It's very difficult to tell because they have an Urgot 80 carry, but I'll get back to that in a second. Faker using his ult to knock away this incoming Nautilus. There is the Lantern taken to safety, and he flashes away from the last right of the Arcane. Again, showing us his dodging skills. The hook lands onto Eva Snowball is all that's going to come of that, though, since Faker was forced to back off after losing so much health and burning his ultimate and a flash. And, well, the heal was down from a previous engagement. Also, interesting choice, heal on Azir. I can certainly see the merit in that. He's not going to need the Ignite. He does a ton of damage, especially later game, and he's really not playing for the lane. You can play for the lane as Azir. That's one of the reasons why he's such an interesting champ. He has really good zone control in lane, and then he becomes a bully later on. And he doesn't really have a weak spot at the moment that I can think of. He of course isn't overpowered. I wouldn't say that. He just doesn't really have any glaring weaknesses. There's nothing to take huge advantage of. He doesn't really crush games, but he doesn't really get crushed either. And that's a really good trait to have in a mid laner. It's one of the reasons why Orianna has stayed in the meta for so long, because she's in a sort of similar way. She doesn't really crush a lot of laning matchups, maybe a few here and there. Oh, whoa, Faker going in, looking to try and crush down this Xerath. Doesn't get the kill quite as well as he wanted to. There's the swap back in, Top Notch still trying to take the Lantern, but it's getting body blocked. Eve is there as well. And that'll be a kill for the bottom lane Urgot, who's starting to rack up some stacks on his Manamune. That's an important buy for him, an important set of stacks to be getting as well. The quicker that can stack up, the more quickly we'll see Urgot reach that mid-game power spike that he has, where we were seeing Bjergsen and Keen do so much damage. Ooh, Eve flashes over the wall. The wall from the box, though, is going to slow her down, and Faker will get the kill. Meanwhile, in top lane, we have an ulting Sion running towards Sapart. Sapart trying to get away, but the absolute zero is absolutely not going to let him get out of there. And that'll be a kill for Sion, evening the lane back up. More than evening it up, honestly. He's 4 CS behind, but he is just so much more dominating in this lane than Gnar is being right now. Gnar is catching all these CS on the back foot, letting them push into him and farm under tower, whereas Sion is dictating the flow of the minions. He is pushing the lane when he wants it pushed, he is freezing it when he needs it frozen, and because of that, he's able to exert pressure in other places, possibly. He does have teleport up, he could use that somewhere else, he could make plays happen. Whereas the Gnar is sort of playing reactively, and that can lead to a slow decline, and things getting out of hand over time. Even if it won't lead right away to giving up the match because of a risky play. It's the whole dichotomy you gotta balance there, especially as a top laner. Whether or not you want to risk it and see if you can get the biscuit, or whether or not you want to just play safe from behind and hope that your enemy makes enough mistakes that later on you can take advantage of them and pull yourself back into the game. But to be fair, Sapart is doing a very good job of keeping up in farm. In fact, he has a farm lead. The statistics wouldn't really lead you to think that the lane is lopsided, but simply because of the matchup, I think the Sion's going to be more useful as we go forward. Dragon is getting started off here. I think the Nunu team is going to have the advantage in the Dragon Pit there. Yes, it is. Stolen away, or not even really stolen, since Eternal Promise was the one to start it. Secured, rather, as we continue on with the fight. The Nautilus ult coming through, not going to be enough to save the Urgot. He will go down in the end. Eternal Promise with a Yeti Slam will finish off the kill, and Faker is on a killing spree as he dashes on in on the coattails of one of his minions. Very well fought Dragon indeed. And that'll be the advantage continuing to go over to Red Team, who have been slowly accruing bit after bit of a gold and map lead here. And this is what I mean by that sort of small lead that Sion has here. Despite the fact that he is down still in a few CS, Sapart is just holding even with him. And really, that should not be the case. If you have a small lead in the lane like that, you should be trying to snowball it forward. Perhaps I have been making... pardon me. Perhaps I have not been making my point as fully clear as I would have liked, but you need to continue to grow a lead for that lead to be impactful. The way that Gnar is handling the lane right now, he's simply holding still. And as the game goes on, that lead will become less and less important. Right now, perhaps he could take advantage of something, though maybe even now it's too late. I think it really is. The Righteous Glory is completed. There's Boots of Swiftness, which just got sold. As I was about to say, that's an interesting buy. Another pair of boots that got sold. This guy is playing tricks on me with his inventory. But the Righteous Glory is completed, and that is a very important buy for a Scion top. And it's going to make him nigh on untouchable. At this point, despite the fact that the Nar still has that 5% lead or whatever, a 5% lead now doesn't matter. It simply doesn't. Scion is going to do what Scion is designed to do, whether or not he's 5% behind or 5% ahead. That much of a margin of error doesn't make a difference. The Urgot, though, is something I wanted to talk about as the camera swaps down here. Brutalizer completed as well, and the Man Immune on top of that, I would say he's hit a power spike right here. And he's probably going to be looking to exercise that. He really needs to, because his team is starting to fall behind. Eve doing well there with the leaps, getting the resets over and over again. Eternal Promise was allowed to channel a huge ult. Eve gets chunked down by that as the Xerath gets knocked back into the team. Here comes the Scion as well, teleported down out of the top lane. Eternal Promise gonna be taken down. The Xerath. Second kill goes to Scion as the third one drops into Faker's pockets, and it is a fleeing Urgot right now. He wanted to make use of that power spike, but his team was just not in a good scenario to do so. Top Notch will finish off the kill with a boomerang. 3-11 on the board here, and this is starting to look really grim for blue. And I mean, Sapart still has the gold lead in the top lane. He's finished off a Frozen Mallet as well. Interesting item choice for him. And he's got the turret just about dead to rights here. But really, that's not going to matter. Look, Scion just walked right past him, completely ignores him. This is not a very impactful lane here from the Gnar. And I do apologize for the coughing once again, but I will try my best to control it, and hopefully by the time the next video comes out for the channel, it will be a thing of the past. Oh, and there's the zone control that Azir can put out even from across the map, though right now it's not too terribly impactful. Just going to be, actually, I believe a little bit of extra gold in the Xerath's pockets there. If you take down the turret, I think you get 80 gold? I don't recall the exact amount. Pardon me. Oh, something we should take a look at. Something very important to take note of. One of the reasons why I chose this game, of course, was, I mean, perhaps I'm a little bit interrupted by this fight up in the top lane, though I don't think it'll break out into anything. That's a somewhat less powerful Gnar versus a Scion that's completed a pair of tank items. Not really gonna break into anything important. However, this might be. Eve leaping over the wall does get hooked. Beautiful hook from the Thresh. Flays her back into the Absolute Zero as well. The Ignite is burning. One more auto attack, and the Ignite, it's ticking, it doesn't go, but the Snowball follows her and finishes off the kill. Eternal Promise is on a killing spree, and lolling for his hubris at trying to save the Diddly will go down as well. Those soldiers are chunking. Azir is doing a ton of work. Needlessly large rod completed on top of a bunch of attack speed and cooldown reduction means that Faker is going to be doing tons and tons of damage right now, and he didn't even need to build a Triforce for it. Triforce Azir would be interesting. I wonder if the soldiers proc that. Anyways, Sapart is once again throwing things at the Scion, but Scion simply does not care. Yeah, that's pretty much the story of this lane past the 7 or 8 minute mark. Gnar throws things, Scion doesn't care. Except for that one kill where Scion got a little bit too overconfident, and actually, we might see another fight here. Right now he's leaping on in with the ulti. The Frozen Mallet will make it difficult for him to escape, but it was all a ruse. Faker was in the bush, and he has a lot of soldiers to do his bidding. The Birdman of the Desert will have his vengeance. 5-0 and 5. Faker is doing quite well, and it looks like he wants a turret as well. Not content with blood, he will also take stone from the enemy. And gold. Lots of gold. That is in the end the goal here. And head on home back to base. His mana bar is fairly empty. But thankfully, there's quite a lot of free mana to be had back here at the base. I don't know where they keep getting it, but I ain't complaining. Speaking of mana, the Man Immune is still stacking up on Urgot. I like that transition there. I thought it was good. And he's also got a Glacial Shroud. Nice little pickup for him. Now see, this is one of the problems with Urgot. Because of his short-range nature, and because of the fact that his ult means he'll be swapping in towards the enemy team, he's forced to buy defensive stats. He basically has to. As a mid laner, that's not too huge of a problem, because you get that solo XP, you get some levels, that means a little bit of tanky stats in and of itself. Faker is dominating, good lord. Not even time for an Acid Hunter there. Urgot just goes down. And they've got pressure down in the bottom lane with Faker, and they've got the Baron. They had their solo carry down in the bottom side of the map, and they still got the Baron. This is looking really bad for blue team. Xerath goes down. Both carries down for blue team. The Nautilus is gone as well. Eve throws a spear from across the lane there. I realize that's confusing. Eve is the name of the person playing Nidalee. So Nidalee throws a spear from across the lane there. It doesn't quite connect with anyone. And meanwhile, that pressure I was talking about on the bottom side of the map is just tripled by the fact that there's Baron buffed minions here alongside Faker. He's able to melt the waves with soldiers and then melt the towers with Baron minions. And a bunch of attack speed as well. Azir is surprisingly good at taking down turrets because building cooldown reduction and attack speed on him means he attacks quicker. Here comes the Scion. Sapart gets knocked up into the air. This time he does have backup though, so it's not just a wet noodle fight. There is a sword, or rather a sharp boomerang, involved in this particular battle. Faker's going down very, very low. He does drop a turret down to help out his allies after he falls. Thresh might be in more trouble than he can handle here. The hook does land into Urgot. The tower shots are still stacking up. The ignite is burning. One more shot! Ooh! My coughing decided to get the better of me during that cast, but the shield absorbs the turret damage, and Urgot manages to escape with barely any health. The same cannot be said of Thresh, who goes down to far too many enemies for him to handle. However, the top lane is being pushed, and there's a Sivir and a Scion with a bunch of Baron minions. This turret is not having a good day, and it will crumble into ruin. Xerath doing his best to clear out the wave does stop them from getting to the inhibitor turret. Oh, this teleport though. Is there a home guard? No, there isn't, but there is a Scion rushing at him anyways. He doesn't need no home guard. He's got a righteous glory. He is burning down the health off this Urgot, but Sapart teleported in right behind him. He's forced to flash away, so he gets slowed continually by Boomerang. Tosses one more charge of the Hyper. Will take him down, and Sapart's just going to leap his way out of there as Meganar actually just turns around and stuns him up. Throws a boulder as well. Nothing the Scion can do, even post-death, to take this one out, but maybe Faker can avenge his fallen ally. He's coming down out of the river. Does toss a few soldiers over onto Sapart. Knocks him away with the shield bearers and a few more spear thrusts. We'll finish off the double kill for him as the soldiers do his dirty work. And that will be red team turret going down. That was an actual turret, by the way, not an Azir one. It is somewhat confusing how it plays the turret death message for an Azir turret or a Sun Disk, I suppose is the technical term, or for a default base turret. You have to actually check and see, because it does display a different picture, different image, by the way. But it does not vary up the message that the announcer speaks, so it can be a little bit confusing there if you're not paying close attention. Faker getting the attack speed buff from the Nunu. This is the late game Azir. Only 24 minutes into the game. Already a monstrous threat being focused down. Lolling drops the depth charge onto him. He is ignited and he is burning. He does go down in the end. Top Notch now going to follow suit right afterwards. 2-for-2 trade so far. Scion having yet to burn the ult. Leaps on back into the fray just as the surrender vote goes through. Red team picks up the victory. Thank you guys for watching. I apologize for the occasional cough here or there. I'm still just on the end of this cold. But I wanted to get you guys a video, and I hope you all enjoyed it. My name is Octavian. Thank you once again for watching. I will see you next time.